Welcome to NinjaCast, a photography podcast powered by Studio Ninja, the world's highest rated business management app, built specifically for photographers. Listen and learn as the most successful photographers on the planet share their knowledge to help you transform every element of your photography business. Here's your host, Sally Shaw.
Hi guys, welcome to NinjaCast. Today I am joined by Chris Scott, founder of Swift Galleries. I can't wait to talk to Chris today because he's going to delve deep into his techniques on how to go from shoot and burn photographer to pulling in print sales from every single one of your clients. I know I'm going to learn a lot on this one. Here we go. Hi Chris, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm really well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a real pleasure to have you on the show today.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. I love chatting with you anyway, so the opportunity to come on to the podcast is awesome for me.
I know, we've not chatted in a little while now, have we? How are things?
Been a little while. It's been way too long. Things are weird. Things are weird. So, I mean, just coronavirus and all of that, things are just weird, I think. But, I can't really complain, but it's hard to say like things are great because look around. 2020 has been a nightmare.
It's been definitely a year to remember, hasn't it? I don't think photographers amongst us will ever forget this one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I legitimately read last night that apparently there's supposed to be an asteroid coming close to Earth, like before November.
Really?
Like, of course there is, because 2020.
It's 2020, of course. Nothing can surprise us this year, I don't think.
Exactly.
Amazing. Well, all things considered then, you guys are doing not too bad.
Oh, we're doing great. Yeah, thank you.
Good. Oh, fantastic. So, as I say, I'm really pleased to have you on the show. For our listeners that don't necessarily know about you or may not have heard about you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so my name is Chris Scott, as you've said. I am a kind of a specialist in helping photographers go from shoot and burn to selling prints. And we kind of arrived at this, kind of stumbled into it. So my wife and I were full-time wedding and portrait photographers. We kind of went through all of this ourselves, where we struggled with shoot and burn. We did that for a couple of years. And, at first it felt like, oh yeah, this is awesome. I just got paid $500 for a wedding, and then reality sunk in pretty quickly that like, oh wait, I could be making more money working at McDonald's. Like, what am I doing? So we kind of had this big reckoning and ended up switching to in-person sales. And in that first year of selling prints, we went from $150 sales averages to $120,000 in that first year. Wow. In revenue. And it was life-changing for us. So we started teaching some of our friends who were photographers how we did it. And then somehow we decided, hey, we should build some software. Like, still don't really know why we thought that was a good idea, but it worked out. We built an iPad app. It was called Preveal. It's now been retired, but it did really well at first. It was one of the first, in fact, it was the first mobile kind of tablet-based wall art designer. And then that kind of grew up into what we do today, which is called Swift Galleries. It's a web-based designer and sales tool. And then we have this other kind of side to our company where we teach sales and sales processes and really teach a really refined version of what we did back in, I think 2009 now, like a decade ago, a really refined version of that process of switching to print sales. So, we used to say switching to in-person sales, but things have changed so much just in the last year that I don't even know that it needs to be in-person sales, just print sales, whether you do that virtually or you do it through traditional in-person sales. So that's kind of what we do all day, every day at this point is just help photographers kind of make that same transition that we did in our business. And that's pretty cool. We get to kind of have that front row seat to those aha moments and those like, oh my gosh, I just made $4,000. Yeah. When a month ago I made, $100. Like, yeah, I told you. Like, it's awesome, isn't it? So, so that's me. That's kind of what we do over here.
Amazing. Fantastic. Well, I'm really excited personally for this episode because I am absolutely one of those photographers. I have never really ventured into the print sales side of things. And I can't wait. I'm going to pick your brains like you wouldn't believe today.
Oh, please do. Yeah, because by the end now, like that's just a challenge at this point. I'm like, oh, I'm going to make her drink the Kool-Aid by the end of this episode.
I love it. So let's talk a little bit more about Swift Galleries in more detail. So can you tell us kind of the real crux of what it is, how it works, and just go into a bit more detail for us there?
Yeah, so Swift Galleries is a web-based tool. It allows you to, number one, kind of design wall art galleries so that you can show your clients what their photos will look like on their walls at the right size. So say like this gallery behind me. So if you're listening to this, sorry, if you're watching this, then that's what I'm talking about. This gallery behind me, I could just kind of take a picture of that wall and I could show them exactly what this would look like on that wall, calibrated to the right size. So it really takes all of the guesswork out of selling wall art galleries because they see exactly what they're going to get. There's no question about it. Mm-hmm. And then the other kind of side to Swift Galleries is the sales tool. So it's not just for designing wall art, it's for actually going through the sales process. So there's a full print sales flow inside Swift Gallery. So it'll walk you through kind of a title screen, the slideshow, doing your cull, comparing similar images, selling wall art, selling what we call add-ons. So that's basically anything that doesn't go on the wall. You do that and then go through the checkout process, discounts, all of that, so that you can do your entire sales meeting, whether it's in traditional in-person or kind of virtual in-person sales. You can do the entire thing right there inside Swift Galleries. And it's really kind of a one-stop shop for anybody who's wanting to sell prints. So I'm proud of it. I'm a little biased,
so
but
you should be.
It's a great tool.
Amazing. Well, I love the sound of it. I think it sounds like it really extends that customer service as well, doesn't it? For a lot of photographers, the experience ends for their couples after the wedding or after the shoot. It's like, thanks so much. It was a great day. Here's your images. Done.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of talk about how, and this is nobody's fault. If you're listening, like I'm not trying to be judgy or anything, but when you shoot and burn, really what's happening is at the end of that process, you're saying, well, hey, here are your files. Good luck figuring out what to do with them. Mm-hmm. And that, I just think as photographers, we spend so much time and energy building this brand and really trying to serve our customers and our clients. And then to get to the end of that process and essentially do that, it kind of negates all the work that we did up to that. You've built so much goodwill. They've already told you that they want to pay you. They've already hired you. You've already done all the hard stuff. They trust you. They want to give you their money. Like, just serve them. And that's really the thing about this process. And it's something that we kind of talk about. It's a little cheesy, but I'll say it anyway. I like to view IPS not as in-person sales, but as incredibly personal service. Because that's really what this is. It's about, and it's about a lot more than just the sales meeting. It happens way before you ever get to the sales meeting. Basically, we're going to set expectations on our website and our blog and social media so that people know that what we do is provide prints instead of files. So everywhere they touch our brand, they're going to see printed products. They're going to get an idea that like, oh, that's what this person is about. And then from there, what that does is attract those people who want those things. Because the person who just wants digitals, when they see your website and your blog and social media and all of that, and it's just prints and prints and prints, they're not going to come to you. They're going to say, oh, no, I just want the files. Okay, great. But the person who says, wait, this is different. Like this, what is this? Why is, I thought everybody just did files now. They're going to contact you. They'll go through your process. They go into it, the planning meeting where you're going to talk about the exact products that you're going to create for them. You ask them questions, and sorry, I just launched into my soapbox.
Go.
So, after we've attracted the right people into our business, from there we want to kind of build their excitement for those products. And we do this through a number of steps throughout the process. And the main one, I think, being this planning meeting, kind of a pre-session planning meeting, where you're going to use a tool, even like Swift Galleries, where you'll show them some stuff on the wall, and you'll say, hey, you know what? Tell me where in your home would you like to display the artwork that I'm going to create for you. So you're setting this expectation on your website already. Well, now you're just continuing to plant that seed and sow the seed for the sale by just being upfront. Okay, hey, what are we going to do with these images that we're creating for you? Which I think is a question that not enough photographers are asking. And I think, we see it every day. Photographers saying, like, all I had to do was start asking that, and clients were like, oh, that's a great question. I hadn't really thought about that. And just that little spark of like, hey, what do you want to do with these? And then, they kind of tell you like, hey, we got this spot in the office that I think would be great. Okay, cool. Tell me about that space. What color are the walls? What's the mood of that space? Is it the hub of activity for the house, or is it where you go to relax and unwind at the end of the day? All of this stuff, we're just asking questions. We're getting our clients to talk about the person that they like talking about the most, which is themselves. Mm-hmm. And we're taking all of that information in, and we're going to turn it back around and as suggestions for them. So, okay, cool. Well, based on what you've told me about that space, I really think that our metal prints would look amazing in there. In fact, that's where I would pull up something like Swift Galleries, and I would just show them a layout. Doesn't have to have images, anything like that. So this is all before the session. I'm saying, I think something like this would look amazing in that space, a gallery wrapped canvas or a framed and matted print. And then I'm going to just paint the picture for them. Okay. And everything else you told me about, is they told me the colors of the wall. They told me the style of the artwork, other artwork in the room, and the style of the furniture in there. I can now craft that entire experience for that client and just turn it around as like, okay, well, based on what I know about you now, I think we should be looking at these types of prints. And that's where I would show it and say something like this. But I think we should also meet over on the west side of Colorado Springs at about 5 o'clock a week from today. The sun's going to be setting. It's going to be coming in over Pikes Peak. It's going to look gorgeous. It just lights that field up with this amazing golden glow. We'll get your family all in there. I'm thinking something a little bit more formal for that space maybe, but not too posed, just kind of a relaxed, a lot of connection between your family, everybody smiling and looking at the camera. I think that you should also wear earth tones, nothing with lines, nothing with logos, nothing too loud, just some earth tones, some plain colors. I think that's going to look amazing for the location, and it's going to look incredible for the space. So now what I've done is I've painted this picture of exactly what they're going to get, and I've crafted around exactly where I know it's going to go. So now, and I answered all of the logistical questions that I was going to have to answer anyway. Where are we going to do this? What time are we going to do it? What do I need to wear? But I have reasons for all of those things. It's not just like, oh, wear khakis and a white shirt. I have a reason for all of it. And it was all crafted around this specific client. In fact, that specific room, because once we've kind of nailed that down, then it's like, okay, well, where else? Oh, well, we have this really cool kids room down in the basement that has like a disco ball and laser lights and whatever. Like, okay, cool. We don't want to talk about framed and matted prints for that. Let's talk about our metal prints or our acrylic prints. And I'm thinking something, right around the corner from that field that I was thinking about is this really cool alley. I think it would be cool to get some really candid photos of your kids just kind of like hanging out or just playing. Those would look awesome in that spot. So I'm crafting this entire experience around every single client, and all along the way, I'm selling them those products without it ever feeling like I'm selling them those products. Mm-hmm. Because all I'm doing, this is service. This is what service looks like. People talk about boutique businesses. Oh, I want to run a boutique business. This is a boutique business. Like, you're literally building each and every experience around each and every client. So, and then from there, you go into the session and you get that shot that you were talking about in that field, and you show it to them on the back of the camera. You're like, oh my gosh, this one's going to look amazing for that spot we talked about over the couch. Mm-hmm. Like, And again, all I'm doing is, number one, I'm being excited about my job. Like I would naturally do that anyway. In fact, I would usually be like, oh my gosh, I'm amazing. Guys, I'm so good at my job. I mean, look, you guys look great too, but look how good I am. And I show it to them on the back of the camera. And what that does, though, is continue to plant that seed and to continue to sow that seed for the sale, because they've already told me that they want print products. And then I showed them something on the wall at the right size in the product that I want them to get right now. And I explained the photo I'm going to get. Now I've shown them the photo on the back of the camera. So what happens is, between the session and the sales meeting, every time they walk past that couch, they're going to see the product that I want them to buy with the photo that I showed them on the back of the camera in it, in their head. Every time they walk past that couch, they're selling that product to themselves. And all I had to do was my job. All I had to do was be truly interested in what it is that they want and make suggestions, and then be excited about how awesome I am when I got the shot, right? Oh my gosh, I'm amazing. Look at this, right? And what that does, though, is set you up to get to the sales meeting and not have to sell, because they've already told you what they want. You've already figured out exactly what they want, the exact prints, everything, So the sales meeting really becomes, hey, remember all that stuff that you already told me you want? Here it is. Now you have these other 15 images. What do you want to do with them? And that's it. It's like you figure out exactly what images are going to go in the stuff that you've already discussed. And then from there, it's like, well, you have these other images. What do you want to do? Okay, here are the other products that we have. We have these albums. We have these coffee table books. We have this easel collection, that kind of thing. And this isn't sales, And I know that you asked, this started as a conversation about Swift Galleries. Swift Galleries is a tool to help you accomplish this type of process. I like to think about it this way, that, okay, you've probably had this. You shoot weddings?
Yeah.
Okay, so have you had that guest come up to you and they look at a photo on the back of the camera or something? They say, man, you have a really good camera.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you ever get that? Man, you have a really good camera. And you and I know that it's not the camera. The camera is a tool. It is the experience, the expertise in using that camera, right? That's exactly what Swift Galleries is. Swift Galleries is a tool. Is it a fancy, cool tool that does all kinds of cool stuff? Yes. But it itself, it will not sell. It is the experience. It's the professional behind that tool. And it's the, kind of the process behind that tool that does the selling. So that's why, to me, those lines blur so much. When I start talking about Swift Galleries, I can't help but talk about the sales process behind it, because, again, it's the camera. And it's a cool camera, it's got all kinds of cool buttons, but it's the expert behind the camera that is what makes it work, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
You just let me talk so long. You should just be like, Chris, shut up.
No, this is exactly what we needed, though. I think photographers that think about print sales, they go, oh, no, that's a whole other side of things that I just don't want to get involved in. I'm good. I'll just shoot the weddings, or I'll shoot the family portraits, and then I'll give them their images on an online gallery, and I'm job done. But I think it takes all of that passion and enthusiasm and detail to be able to show our listeners and myself, I'm totally guilty of this, to be able to go, hold on a minute, I think we're missing a trick.
Yeah, and it's, we saw it in our own business. It was this idea that, okay, so we switched because we knew that what we were doing wasn't working, period. It was like, we could wake up tomorrow and keep doing what we're doing, but it's like going back into the burning house for safety. It's going to fall at some point. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of if, not when. Or wait, when, not if. But so for us, it was an immediate kind of financial reason that we switched. But we immediately saw this whole other side to it. When I can't tell you how much it changes, how much it validates you as an artist and a business owner and a photographer when a client hands you a check for $3,000 and then cries and thanks you and hugs you. And I'm like, no, you've got this wrong. I should be the one crying and thanking you and hugging you, and like, to me, that's that moment that's like, wait, what I'm doing matters.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is different. And I'm actually solving a real problem for these people. And, we see it now time and time again with our members who are in the same exact position that you were just talking about, kind of this fear of switching, or like, it just seems so daunting. There's just so much to it. I don't even know, where to start. And is it really worth it? And then as soon as they switch, there's a conversation literally in our paid members group just yesterday from a member who said, I'm so afraid to switch. I'm just terrified because I have a lot of shoot and burn clients and I feel like I'm doing okay, but I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I feel like I also could be serving them better. And it was so cool to see so many of our members jump in and say, just make the switch. Because, and it's not even about the money. So many of them were saying, like, you don't realize just how much better we serve our clients when you do this process, and we see time and time again, photographers saying things like, it validated me as a business owner and as an artist. It made me feel like the professional that I always wanted to be, but I didn't know how to be. And I think that that's a really big deal. I mean, some days that might be the only thing that gets you out of bed in the morning to get up. And I mean, especially right now when the world is ending, to be able to say, like, you know what, I'm going to make somebody's day today. And I'm going to make great money doing it, and I mean, there's absolutely that side of things too. We just had a photographer down in Florida get a $14,000 sale. And then 2 days later nailed a $9,000 sale. And I mean, this is during, not quarantine, but, social distancing. And it's just, this stuff works. So if you're listening, I would encourage you to at least look into switching, because it's better for you. It's better for your client. It's better for your bank account. It will shut up all the haters, all those doubters in your life. That's kind of one of the funny little side benefits is we get a lot of messages like, my husband really wasn't on board with me doing this. In fact, I talked to somebody on our podcast recently who said that she waited until she was out of town to buy our course. She was like, because I knew that my husband wasn't going to want me to buy yet another course, so I waited till I was in a hotel and I bought it she binge watched it like Netflix style that night. And but within 4 days, she made enough to pay for like 13 years of her membership, and her husband was like, good call. Yeah. I'm 100% behind you. But we do get those messages where they're like, we do get those messages where we're like, they say things like, my husband wasn't really on board about this, but then I got that first sale and it shut him up real quick. And I was like, you know what? I like that. I like that I can bring that to your life. Like, you're welcome. But anyway, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about this, but I'm going to let you ask more questions.
No, not at all. It's lovely listening and learning about it. A lot of our listeners may not have heard of Swift Galleries at all before, and if they have, they may not know about it in its entirety, so it's great. I'm just going to delve and play a little devil's advocate here. What would you say to photographers that would say, stumbling blocks? So, for example, we can talk about the print sales, we can put them on our website, we can build that into our whole client experience, but the client won't send me an image of their room. They've not got the time. They just haven't done it. I've messaged and they've not come back to me. What happens?
Yeah, so, that's definitely something that happens. I think that number one, what you do is, it depends again on the tool. If you're using Swift Galleries, then we already have like 50 different rooms that you can use. They're already calibrated. So, and we have members who are making great sales just using the stock rooms. They don't even bug their clients about getting a room photo. We definitely encourage you to get a room photo though, because it's going to, it makes so much more of an impact for a client to see it. on their own wall. So I would say the fallback in that kind of situation is definitely like just use one of the included room photos. Otherwise, you can look at incentivizing it. We have some members who say you get a free 5x7 of your favorite image if I can get a room photo from you, stuff like that. You can build some incentives into the process. But otherwise, the fallback, I think the easy fallback is just use one of the room photos that's included in the software.
Amazing.
And most of the software out there already has a lot of this stuff, room photos included as well.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you very much. So how can photographers use virtual sales and use this whole process right now? Obviously, we're in a little bit of a new age, a new time, new beginnings. Some places across the world are in lockdown or in quarantine. I know in the UK here, we've still got localized lockdowns. So although some places are allowed out, others aren't. So for photographers that are kind of locked down, how can this process help them even still?
Oh my gosh, this is like we were made for this. We kind of joked around. We've been teaching virtual sales now for a couple of years because I think the technology is finally there. I mean, look, we're talking over Zoom right now, and I'm in the US, you're in the UK, and this is easy. I could share my screen with you right now, and we could go through an entire sales meeting as if we were in the same room. Like, we live in the freaking future. So we've been teaching this now for a few years. So when coronavirus kind of came and we finally accepted that, like, hey, this is a real thing, and it hit our industry so hard, at first we did what everybody did. We kind of stumbled back and we were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And then we're like, wait, like, we were born for this, guys. Like, this is what we do here. Take this message and spread it far and wide, because this process it's tailor-made for this. It's a way for you to sell your products to clients when you can't be face-to-face with them. And, is the ROI going to be exactly the same? Probably not. You're probably going to be able to do better with a traditional in-person sales process. You can have, samples to show them and stuff like that. But if that's not possible for you, then, like, you don't just say, well, then I'm not going to do anything. Like, okay, great. This is what I can do right now. Well, guess what? We had a lot of members who were doing this before COVID even became a thing. And they found that their return on time invested, their profits were actually higher doing virtual sales than doing traditional sales because of the time that it took to get the room cleaned up or to travel to their clients, travel back and forth, whatever. Virtual sales meetings tend to be shorter than traditional in-person sales meetings. So when they counted all of the time involved, they realized, you know what? No, I'm not making as much per sale, but I'm making more per hour by doing virtual in-person sales. And so, I mean, gosh, it's tailor-made for this. And I would encourage you, especially if you're a shoot and burn photographer, you are sitting on a gold mine of images right now. They're just sitting there. You could easily implement a process, whether it's a virtual sales meeting or just some sort of offer on prints, to all of those past clients. So if you're stuck and you're in lockdown and you're like, what am I doing right now? You need to be tapping into those past clients. You have all of these images that are just sitting there. And now's the time to make an offer to those clients, whether you're doing it through, like a Zoom meeting and a full, sales meeting, or if you're just sending an image over and saying, like, hey, I've got a special running on this type of print product. Here's a mock-up of it real quick. Here's what I think here's what it would look like. And I think it would look amazing in your home. And if you get it in the next 3 days, it's whatever % off. Like, do something. You have all of these images. Start taking advantage of that, because there's just so much money sitting there. And I hate seeing so many photographers struggle. So, it's not all about the money, but guess what? It is kind of about the money too. Like, we have to be okay with that. We run photography businesses. So we have to be okay with the fact that, like, we're going to talk about money sometimes. And especially right now, like, it's hard, it's hard, but there are things that you can be doing to do just as well, and I would argue that as a shoot and burn photographer, typically you're probably not charging that much for your session and your files. you could maybe even do better right now than you're doing actually out shooting and burning, selling printed products, because you can charge a premium for some of those products. So we have plenty of members who are like, I'm making enough money right now just selling stuff to the people that I've already photographed. And I'm like, cool, you're going to still want to photograph more people as soon as you can. And they're like, yeah, I guess. But yeah.
Awesome.
I hope that answered the question. I don't know.
Definitely. What would you say to a photographer that's, they love the idea, they love everything they've heard from you so far, but they're just a little bit unsure about the whole selling wall art or selling prints? They just need kind of that push.
I would say, so this is kind of my life mantra, and it's something that we say a ton over at Swift Galleries and to our members and everything, is this idea of make it work, then make it better. It's what I live and die by. Make it work, then make it better. It's what gets me to do something today. So basically it's similar to, done is better than perfect. Just get something out there. Don't worry about it being perfect today. Make it work today, and then spend the rest of your days making it better. It's so much easier to iterate your way to a really great process than it is to wait and build that process kind of in stealth and then launch it all, and no, just put something out there today. So I would say, if you're listening and you're like, this sounds good, but I don't know, what are the baby steps? I would start with starting to show products everywhere someone touches your brand. So whether you're doing mock-ups on Instagram, Facebook, just wherever they look, I want them to start seeing products. And then from there, I would add planning meetings where you're saying okay, tell me, what do you want to do with these images? And you start painting that picture. Even if on the back end, you still don't plan on doing a sales meeting, no big deal. Start with the planning meeting, because you're going to start setting those expectations for products, even if you're delivering files at the end. I think what you'll find happen, though, is they'll say, well, we talked about this thing. Can you just do it for me? Yeah, we can absolutely do that for you. I suppose I can take your money. Great. Yeah. So yeah, I would start though with showing products everywhere everywhere someone touches your brand. In fact, I guess really what I would start with is making an offer to your existing clients on products that you've already, or on images that you've already created. And shameless plug, we actually own another company called Pro Photo Mockups, and it's like Photoshop mockups of different products from actual print labs. So that what you're showing them is what they're going to get. Mm-hmm. So you can use something like that, and they're like $5 a piece over there. So you could use something like that, get one mock-up, and say, okay, I'm going to offer a 5x7 gallery wrapped canvas to every client, and you get that one mock-up, and you create a mock-up for each, like a custom mock-up for each client. Mm-hmm. And you email them that image, and you say, if you buy this in the next X number of days, then you get this percentage off, or you get this bonus thing. You give them some sort of reason to buy it right now. And I would just encourage you to do that, because it at least gets something in their hands, it gets something in their home, and it gets some money in your account. And you've already done the work to create the images. Just start making some money off of those.
Definitely. So we've touched briefly on it's kind of a bit of a digital age now, isn't it? It's so easy for photographers to slip into that, I'll just do digital delivery and I don't need print sales. So how would you encourage photographers to hold on to product sales in the ever-growing digital age, and also how to transition current digital clients into print sales?
Yeah, so those are really good questions. I would say the number one thing on this, encouraging photographers in the digital age, is I think let's not fall into the trap of confusing convenience with service, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Shooting and burning is it's convenient. It's fantastic as far as I can just do the work, give them the files, and then move on. That's great. But when we start making that sound like it's serving our clients, when we dress it up in pretty words about sharing and whatnot, like that's not what we're doing. We're not serving when we do that. Service looks different than that. So I would encourage you to really take a hard look at what you're doing and say, is this actually serving my client? And, admit to yourself that like, yeah, I think I could be doing better. So then from there, you're exactly right. The next step is like, okay, well, how do I convince my clients that this is, that this is right? And number one, I'm going to be upfront. Not all of your clients are going to come with you. Mm-hmm. And that's okay, because those clients came to a shoot and burn photographer. They came for that. But you will have some clients who understand. And especially if you can frame it in a way that makes sense to them. So let's say you've drank the Kool-Aid now and you're like, all right, Chris, I'm going to do this. How the heck am I going to tell my clients that I now offer printed products and I don't do the files anymore, or, the files are this much more expensive or whatever, right? How do I do this? Well, I think the easiest way is just to be upfront. Just say like, hey, you know what? We're doing something new now where I'm going to walk you through the process of figuring out what to do with these images, and we're going to create these products for you. And I think a really good way to introduce that to your clients is to just ask them up front, like, hey, what have you done with the images that we've created for you so far? 99.99999% of the time, they're going to say nothing. Life got in the way, So it's easy then to be like, well, that's why I'm doing this. Like, it's your fault. But as a photographer, though, that is a really good opportunity for us to step into that gap and say, you know what? That's why I switched, because that's not your fault. It's not your job as the client to do this stuff. It's my job, and I'm realizing that the more past clients I talk to who haven't done anything with their images, like, that's my failure, not yours, and that's why I'm changing this. So when you can turn that around and take the blame and say like, hey, you know what? I realize you haven't done anything, but that's not on you, that's on me, and that's why I'm changing. That's why I want to help you figure out what to do, because I realized that my job wasn't done when I was done taking the photos. My job is done when you have stuff on your wall, when you have albums on your bookshelf, something that you can enjoy day to day and something that you can pass down from generation to generation. That's when my job is done. So I think that's probably the key way to start that transition with your clients. And again, not every client is going to be on board, but there will be some who say, oh my gosh, thank you for taking this off of my plate. Especially when you do, to the extent that we teach, which is like all the way through installing wall art on your clients' walls for them. Because now you really are taking all of the pain out of it for them. They show up to a couple meetings, they answer some questions, they smile, you take some pictures of them, and then at the end of the process, the stuff's on their wall, it's done. And we have plenty of members who say that they have people who come to them now because they do this stuff. Like, I saw so-and-so's gallery. They went on and on about how you came over and installed it for them and everything was done for them. And I knew that that's what I needed because I'm busy, because I don't have time to do this stuff myself, and I think that's where we start getting into, value and, this idea of like, I can't charge that much. Well, you can charge that much when you're doing something like this, because you know what? You're worth that much. I think that's the real crux of the situation. When you get these photographers who say like, oh, I could never charge that much for prints. Well, you're right, because you're not worth that much yet. Serve your client better and you will be worth far more than that. It's these kinds of things that make your pricing intangible, that make like, how much is your time worth? Okay, great, because I just saved you 6 hours of hammering holes in your walls, and it took me only an hour because I know what I'm doing. Or, the handyman that I hire, because we have a ton of members who just hire out local contractors to do their wall gallery installation. Mm-hmm. It was like, it took an hour. It would have taken you 6, and let's be honest, you would have just not done it. So, but you can't put a price tag on that time that you saved them. You can't put a price tag. This is an example that just came up yesterday. Can't put a price tag on the fact that the husband sat on the couch watching an old college football game while the photographer hung the wall art, and he was like, I didn't have to do it. I got to just sit here and hang out with my kids, and like, you can't put a price on that. But we get to kind of, as photographers, we get to say like, well, yeah, it's going to cost you this much to work with me, and it's just, I don't know. It's a cool process because it ends up kind of putting its fingers into so much other parts of your business. Like when you have a sales process like this that works, and it works consistently, and it works reliably, then it allows you to kind of take your focus off of that part and start saying like, okay, now how can I make my marketing better? But now I can afford to, because I'm making money on the back end, and it makes clients talk about you more. It generates more referrals. It gives you much more testimonial fodder, where you can say like, yeah, okay, so let's say you're doing the, you're doing where you go and you deliver and install products. Well, great, bring your camera, because that is the time to get a video of your client. Like what we would always do, I'm going to show my age here, but this was back in the day when Extreme Makeover Home Edition was like a thing.
Program.
You know what I'm talking about? I can't remember his name right now, but he'd be like, move that bus. You know what I'm talking about? We would do like that kind of thing with our clients, where we'd like kick them out of the room and we would install this artwork. And I mean, we would have some clients who'd be like, hey guys, we're just going to go get some lunch and we'll be back in like an hour, and we'll knock before we come in. We'll see if you guys are done, and we're like, okay, cool. And then, we'd kick them out. And then once it's done and we've got everything straightened up, we'd kind of move that bus, we'd get them back in the room. And I just can't even tell you how many people would just start crying. Well, guess what? That's when you break out your phone and you get a video and say like, hey, can you tell me real quick what was this experience like for you? And like those types of testimonials are solid gold. And guess what? So that I cannot make it just about money, that emotion is real. You did that as an artist, as a photographer, you did that. And that's what keeps you going. When you do have that client who says like, wait, you want me to spend how much? No, I would never spend that, whatever. Because the person last night cried when they saw their artwork, and you got paid well for that. Like it's amazing. I love this process. I just want you guys to switch. I want you guys to feel this.
I'm going to do it. I'm pretty sure all of our listeners right now are just mind blown.
Well, now I'm like, okay, well, we should do a series on my podcast where we walk you through the process, Sally.
Let's do it.
From where you are right now. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. All right.
That's put me right on the spot, hasn't it?
We're doing it. Yeah, you said let's do it. That's your fault, not mine. You're the one who said let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's take me from shoot and burn to print sales and see how we do.
Let's do it. All right, tune in.
Yeah, absolutely. Watch this space.
Yep.
So just a final few questions for you, Chris. You've been absolutely
hit me.
Amazing. So if you could start your career again, is there anything you'd do differently?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I wouldn't undervalue myself. I think that as new photographers, we feel this need to like, I have to pay my dues. I have to suffer for my art, and that doesn't mean that I would have hit the ground running with, $10,000 weddings like we were doing for our last wedding. But I wouldn't have done $500, I would have been like, hey, you know what? No, my time is worth this much. Even if it was not worth that much, I would have at least, maybe that's the real answer, is I would have known my numbers. I would have treated it like a business from the start. Yeah. I would have figured out how many hours is it going to take me to shoot that wedding, and like, what is it worth to me? Mm-hmm. And then at least started from there with a baseline of like, let me treat this like a business from day one. Even if I know that my business is taking a loss at first, at least I know my numbers. At least I know where I'm going with this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think so many of us are guilty of doing that. Like it's such a culture, isn't it? You see new photographers starting out all the time, and they'll just, they'll shoot it for nothing. They'll shoot it for pittance. And I understand, it's the inexperience, and it's the getting yourself comfortable and getting to know the industry. But I think every photographer that's still here kind of 10 years down the line always says the same thing. I wish I'd charged more when I started.
Yep. Yeah, but nobody's going to listen to us old people. All the new people are not going to listen to us old people. They're going to be like, no, I got to start free.
Yeah.
But please listen. That's, I would, and again, even if I knew I was taking a loss, I would have at least known my numbers. I would have known that, okay, when I commit to that $500 wedding, that means I'm making $1.33 an hour, or something like that. It wouldn't have been, we did not shoot that many hours, but you get the point.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you could add a final piece of advice, maybe something that really made a difference to your business or your personal life, what would that be?
I've already said it, but I'm going to say it again. Make it work, then make it better. If you can treat business and life like that, like just move forward, do something. What is it? Imperfect action today is better than perfect action tomorrow. Like just do something. So make it work today, make it better tomorrow, I think would be my advice.
Love it. Thank you. And if our listeners would like to find out any more about you, get in touch with Swift Galleries or tune into your podcast where it looks like I'm going to be going on the journey myself. How can they do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would say probably the easiest way to kind of get involved with what we're doing is to check out the full framework that I just talked about. It's called the AEDD framework, and you can find it at theaeddframework.com. So that's AEDD as in attract, excite, delight, and deliver. So AEDDframework.com.
Amazing.
And the podcast, the Printmaker podcast, you have to come listen because Sally's going to be on there and we're going to switch her from shoot and burn to print sales.
And there we go. You've heard it here first, everybody. Chris, I can't thank you enough for your time. You've been an absolute legend and it's been a pleasure to chat with you today.
Thanks so much for having me. This is always a joy talking to you.
Oh, you too. Bless you. I hope we'll be able to catch up soon, maybe in person one day.
Sounds good.
All right, Chris. See you soon. Thank you.
See ya. Bye.
Bye. Okay, guys, that's everything from me today. Thank you so much to Chris for coming on the show and sharing so much knowledge and expertise in his field. For all of the show notes, you can visit www.studioninja.co/episode 11. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of NinjaCast, brought to you by Studio Ninja. Beautifully designed and super easy to use, Studio Ninja will help you manage your leads, clients, shoots, invoices, contracts, workflows, and so much more. To learn more or start your 30-day free trial, go to www.studioninja.co.